This is Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Here are your hosts, Dr. Tim Slecker and Dr. Johnny Lupinacci, educated educators talking education.
It is Wednesday night, Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk, educated educators talking education, and Wednesday night, Educators Amplified. Yes, well, one of them's here, Teacher Joanna. How are you, Teacher Joanna? Good to see you tonight.
Great to be here. Good to see you guys.
Man, we got so much to talk about tonight, and we're going to get to it pretty quickly. Johnny Lupinacci, though, tell you what, how about you, my friend? What's going on with you?
It's Wednesday, it's midweek, it's summer still, but there's a lot going on. So much has happened. We've been talking about it on the show. We had great guest last night, right? Her book talking about testing and inequality.
Wendy Warren.
The illusion of equality and really connecting the dots historically and in present time between eugenics, institutionalized racism, and standardized tests and the test-based policies. So really good work. We're going to be talking with Wendy Warren, folks. If you liked that show as much as we did, we're going to be talking to her more because there's just so much stuff
So
there.
much.
Tim, you and I, right, educated educators talking education, we're always just hammering away at these tests. And teachers out there know why, because they're like up to here. And I'm giving for the folks on the stream. Remember, you can catch the stream on Facebook through the Civic Media page or through the Busted Pencils page. You can watch us on YouTube or streaming live from the StreamYard if you're listening and you want to see. I said up to here, and I'm holding my hand way above my bald head to say teachers have had it up to here with standardized tests, but yet they keep coming at us. All the data, all of the things we need to do to help teach our kids better, that every teacher out there knows, like, okay, enough. We have so many other pressing concerns also related to the development academically, socially, emotionally, all the ways our kids need us to be great teachers. Enough with the test data, please.
Enough.
So that was a great show. Tim, I also got to squeeze it in there before we get into, the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, because Teacher Joanna's in the Milwaukee area.
I
So we're going to
am.
get her tonight, and Jess, who's on the ground in the newsroom at the Walk Studio. But before we jump into that, you know what else pretty close to Milwaukee? Minocqua Brewing Company. But the Busted Pencils is sponsored by the Minocqua Brewing Company. Those guys, Kirk and his crew, are big time advocates for public education and are always working hard to build community. And man, they're slinging a lot of beer over at the MBC this week and all summer long. The most sued brewery in America, right? Because they're defending democracy any way they can, making Wisconsin great again, one beer at a time. Check out MinocquaBrewingCompany.com to see where you can buy their progressive beer. Ooh, so what's the temperature?
Oh, I know. Right to it.
Yeah, right to it.
Right to it. Teacher Joanna, what's the temperature in Milwaukee?
Well, to be honest, I've stayed away from downtown. So the temperature's been cool because I do think a lot of people who live here are just, we know the roads are closed and it's inconvenient. So honestly, I mean, I've noticed a lot more helicopter and airplane traffic. I'm noticing a lot of that. I think, it's on our news constantly, and I wonder if that's the same by you guys or if that's because it's local here. And our billboards are going crazy. There's crazy. The opposing, right? The billboards are going, the electronic billboards are going crazy with different messages from both parties. So yeah, we're here in Milwaukee. It's happening, but tomorrow's the last day, I think. And so, as a local, I've just cut the downtown out of my life, which does kind of stink because you recognize you do, you go there a lot or you go through there. And it's one of my ways to it impacts a lot of people's commute. Again, I know this isn't really the thing, but I ran into one of my former students yesterday who works whatever. He was just telling me like that day he was late because of the workaround with the traffic from getting from River West down to the south side. But yeah, here we are. That's my reporting. I'm seeing the highways, the air, and I think everyone's sticking kind of close to home.
Nice. Jess, what's going on from the newsroom angle there in the Waukesha studios?
Well, the convention has been a little bit quieter today in terms of actual developments. Most of what we've been hearing a lot on the radio today is we're digging into this announced VP candidate of JD Vance. There's been a lot of investigation into who is this guy, what does he stand for, what is he bringing to the ticket, and starting discussions of, what does this mean?
Yeah, and it's a big question on that one too. JD Vance, 39 years old. Okay, really addressing that issue of going age. Not on this one. No, this is a young man, ready to go, can be ready to take over for an aging president if that would happen. So, but then the other thing I see as I'm looking at this, Johnny and Joanna and Jess, is the temperature's going up now again on the hey, we didn't Uncle Joe, come on, man, you need to step down, dude. This is getting serious now. Things are getting tough. The polling is not looking good. And in fact, today, Adam Schiff, a huge, strong Democrat, came out and he's running for Senate in California, really hoping to win that seat, said, hey, Uncle Joe, you've been great, but man, it's time to step down. And I see this and people are like, is this just a reaction? Is this overplayed? I know from the time that debate all the way through now, and boy, the momentum that the Republicans are building during this convention, and I will give it to them. They are united 100%. They are delivering their message. Their message is frightening and still scary, but they're delivering it with unification. They're coming out strong. And man, Uncle Joe still kind of sitting there. Well, when somebody tells me, dude, we've all told you it's time. It's now time. Johnny, I see you nodding on that one.
Well, Tim, I like that you brought it up. I kind of disagree about the unified message because to me, it's like it's the all you can eat buffet of ideas to get support. And they're unified on that. It's everything and anything, including the kitchen sink. If you've been disconnected from American politics, and we're going to do everything we can to say whatever we can that doesn't fall too far out of our party lines, but we're trying to collect all those, I'll call them undecided voters or people who are in question. And I'm hearing a lot of really mixed things, a lot of real big contradictions that I'm not afraid to point out. So I do think it's unified in that it's just serving up whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like at the Republican National Convention, whatever I can get my hands on, I'm like, well, that seems really contradictory to what Trump's politics have been about. Oh, this makes sense. JD Vance, who to me has shown time and time again that he is going to put people under the bus in terms of like, he's a real pick yourself up by your bootstraps kind of guy. I think it's smart. Yeah, he's young. So the party is saying, hey, let's appeal to a younger group. To me, it is one really untrustworthy, extremely conservative agenda that everybody in the mix of the Republican National Convention is trying to sell off as very wholesome and very American. And I just don't think that's representing the masses, including the group that they're appealing to. I was interested, and we'll have good follow-up on it coming up tomorrow with a big interview, and I'll tease that. And we'll
tease it, man.
Make sure
tease it.
We'll make sure, listener, you know who it is before we close out tonight, because you're going to want to tune in tomorrow. But related to tomorrow's interview, I did like to see that there was a Teamster, president of the Teamsters Union, who spoke on Monday night, basically, in my interpretation, saying we don't have a party, and that put, like you said, Tim, I agree with you, put the pressure on the Democrats to say, hey, what are we going to do? The Democratic Party has to do something to regain its foothold with labor unions. Now, I know it's just the Teamsters saying we're not endorsing anybody yet, but holy smokes, in my lifetime, Tim, like to not associate the Teamsters with the Democratic Party. I mean, my eyes were massive, like massive. And I think that's the pressure you're speaking to. Some credit to it coming through the news pipeline today, though. Joe Biden did test positive for COVID.
Oh,
So that's serious, man.
that's serious.
Gotta rest. Gotta rest, Joe. But like, there's no rest in this when there really needs to be. And that reminded me too, was like, oh, I'm so glad we'll have Educators Amplified tonight, Teacher Joanna, because Teacher Joanna and Educator Amplified, Teacher Hallie and Teacher Joanna always remind us, remember, take a deep breath. Regulated adults, especially in education, is really, really important. So I was hearing those voices and now I get to actually hear them. So here we are, Tim. I mean, that's for me kind of where things are with the RNC.
Right, man. A lot going on. Hey, Sherry from Horicon. Good evening to you too, friends. Always love that when she's putting out that welcome. Man, no, we did not, though, Jess. We did not reveal who that guest. We're just teasing. It's an important labor guest. We'll tease a little bit more throughout the show. But yeah, Educators Amplified in the house, Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. 855-752-4842 is the number if you want to give us a call. And Sherry, thanks for those big smiley faces you just zipped in there too. Makes me happy to see when people are doing that. Teacher Joanna, though, when we get back, coming up on that first break, we're going to bring this back, though, into the realm where you are always kind of giving us that sense of protecting childhood. I love that conversation piece. So there'll be a lot more to come on that. And then Johnny, too, a little bit more of connections with you there. Busted Pencils. Yeah, it's fully leaded. It's Education Talk, the RNC Convention, Republican National Committee, Milwaukee. So if you're like Teacher Joanna, you're like, you know what? I'm just staying home, not getting involved in that traffic. Too many airplanes, too many helicopters, just too much. Stay in, enjoy yourself. Yeah, who wants to go down there and hang out there? It's making America strong once again, too, though. That's their new pitch, Johnny Lupinacci and Teacher Joanna. They're unified, making America strong once again. Well, Busted Pencils, that's what we are, strong all the time. We'll be right back. Educators Amplified. Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Educated educators talking education. Educators Amplified Wednesday in the house is Teacher Joanna. Give us a call. The number is 855-752-4842 if you want to jump in there and give us a call. All right, enough with the Republican National Convention. Oh, maybe this. But Teacher Joanna, you said, coming out of the weekend, very shocking situation. And Johnny and I have been, kind of throwing this out there. This is going to present this really intensified teaching moment, and if we were in school at this time, but the whole idea of controversy, and not even controversy, but hard topics, how do we teach them? How do we bring them to the present and address them? Because we know the kids, whether they're fifth graders, whether they're middle schoolers, whether they're in high school, they're talking about this. They're seeing this. I mean, the shooter was 20 years old. He was just in high school a few years ago. This guy was, some of our students, their peer. I mean, they get this. You talk about, though, really trying to protect childhood, which I think is an awesome position. How do you do that with topics such as the attempted assassination of a president?
Well, I will say that when the news broke, I was with other teachers. And we were actually vacationing, And it prompted conversation immediately of like, oh man, like this fall, this election cycle is going to be a challenge. And these are high school teachers that I was with, is going to be a challenge as it is. And now this, makes it, it kind of like weaves together many things that have a social impact on students, right? Because it really is an election. It's adults in their lives, perhaps dysregulated because of the election. It's gun violence, which is something that they're always really hyper aware about and concerned about. Like you said, it's a peer. So our immediate reaction was just like, oh wow, we really better take care of ourselves and get set for this fall, because there's going to be a lot of, I'm all about regulation, and regulation though, it has a big root in the work of Dr. Bruce Perry, who talks about state dependent functioning, right? And meaning like our brain state. And, our brain state. And there's basically 5 states: there's calm, there's alert, there's alarm, there's fear, and there's terror. And based on where you're at is how you're functioning. It's literally like what you're hearing, how much information you're able to retain. And so I think of that, and how, I'm always assessing like where the kids at, or ideally too, you're teaching them to identify that for themselves. So I just think when things are really charged, that seeps in, and we're going to just see more kids in alert, alarm, and fear.
Boy, as you went through that, I was just thinking about those states. And at first, because sometimes I'm slow on I was like, states. What? Oh, those kind of states. Fear and terror. Yeah, boy, you think about that, because I have, really from a standpoint, and we've talked about this on the show a couple times. I mean, if you're already tilted in that direction towards a more anxious state anyway, these events like this can really charge those states in a way that can really, yeah, and I like the way you're saying dysregulate, because I know when my anxiety switches over to fear and terror, I don't make the same decisions that I would normally make if I was not in that state. And I think about kids coming in the fall, as you said, it's like this may have happened now in July, but the election is going to be in front of our faces all fall. It's going to be out there. And so, some students are going to bring out this fear, this terror. So how do you address them in that way? Johnny, hopefully you're not in any fear states right now after hearing me talk.
No, Tim. I mean, I really appreciate this conversation. I look forward to our time with Educators Amplified all the time, and especially, Teacher Joanna sharing her veteran experience, but also in her wisdom from a perspective of a kind of teaching that I wish more school leaders and teachers can be supportive of. And I really think we all need it. It's holding space for the importance of the mental health and the well-being of the adults who are surrounding around kids, to be able to consider that the human life in our classrooms and in our schools is valued, and that we need to put time and support into that, not only for children, but for the adults who are working with those children. And it's so important, because I'm thinking, Tim, of myself as a young teacher. I didn't have these tools to work through and talk about my emotional health the way that I do now, and the way that, I've learned about these states of mind through, supporting my own needing to heal, to be able to be present for children in a particular way that isn't always part of teacher education. And it certainly isn't supported in part of professional learning in a lot of schools. So I think it's really important to break that stigma that, that teachers just come to the classroom ready to go and like not checking in on their well-being, especially as we're all teachers this summer who were already a bit anxious about the upcoming election and how we're going to teach. And we have those tools, and sure, on paper, and we can talk the talk, But when we go to walk the walk, there's a lot of factors that come into it. And so we are already anxious about the fall. Well, the summer has definitely turned up the anxiety. And for folks out there who have either PTSD or some trauma around these kinds of things, it is important to check in and really do some slow work around how are we going to teach together this fall? How are we going to support one another? How are we going to make sure children's needs are met? But so are ours, and so are the adults who are going to be present for those children. So thank you, Teacher Joanna, for bringing that back into the conversation for us. And Tim, for opening that up, that these are real things that teachers and all of us experience. But we all have our emotional reactions, our states of mind that we're in that are often connected and linked to these kinds of events.
Well, Johnny, you brought this up too, and Teacher Joanna, you can jump in on this. Is that the fear, and we say the assassination, and the realization that our children fear of gun violence is real. This is not something that they see far off. I mean, the whole idea of how.
No, it's very real. It's something that is always on their mind and something that they speak about, and whether they're external verbal processors and you're really hearing it, or they're internal processors and they're really thinking of it, it's present.
Yeah, it is. Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Educated educators talking education with our friend Teacher Joanna from Educators Amplified. The number's 855-752-4842. Get on the call. Give us your sense. How do teachers prepare for this fall? How do we get ready? How do we recognize the different states of mind that all of the children are going to be coming? And then truly the states of mind that you as an educator are bringing to this situation right now. We got a lot more to talk about when we get back.
Responsibility, what's that? Responsibility, not quite yet. Responsibility, what's that? I don't want to think about it. We'd be better off without it. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, there it is. Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Educated educators talking education. Wednesday night, Educators Amplified. Yeah, they're in the house. Well, Teacher Joanna's here for sure. Wow, talking about everything that's happening and the idea of teachers dealing with the here and now, the present, the moment, and realizing that this fall is going to present lots of the word opportunity just sounds wrong, but lots of challenging moments when I think teachers are going to have to really find how do they address this issue. So we said, the attempted assassination of a presidential candidate was just right front and forward. One of the things I was talking about, Joanna, on Monday was how incredibly amazed I was, and even kind of knocked off my kilter at realizing how fast I was getting the information from TikTok, from all of these sources. It was like, truly, I said fire hose. Johnny's like, yeah, not the fire hose. It's like getting right out of the fire hydrant, the way this was hitting you. And even that, I was thinking, are teachers ready to be handling the way students receive this type of information? And
Well, we've been dealing. I mean, we have been.
right.
Like this is how our world has changed, which is why, of course, I advocate for our system looking differently, because we have new challenges and new complexity, and it's not all bad. But that is why when you guys were railing against tests, right, the very static, the very like it must stay the same, it's why it's problematic because again, like life is or information is really dynamic and changes so quickly now. Like you're not waiting for a new edition of some book to be published. Like you said, it's second by second. And so that's kind of how our work has shifted. And I'd love to see that's a whole nother thing of the system, shifting to that our work isn't just like static and predictable and scripted. It's I think there was a time, was it Finland? They adopted the whole like phenomena-based education, where it was like something about that, kids are interested in the right now. And so how do you teach around the right now? Yeah, I think it was called phenomena-based.
Teach about the right now. That
Mhm.
that actually sounded really powerful stuff because that's really what's happening. Oh, caller Joanne from Madison,
We
you're
got
on the
Joanna on the
line.
line.
Wonderful discussion. I just have a note. Besides just teaching about the right now, these amazing things that are happening in our lives give us a wonderful opportunity to connect with the elders in our lives and ask, what did you do when Reagan was shot? What did you feel? What happened in the world? What happened in the transition between Carter and Reagan? I was in grad school at the time, early grad school, and I remember people absolutely changing their positions. All of a sudden, they were for Reagan's positions as opposed to Carter's positions because they were all wanted to be with the winning team, and it was scary to me. It was just frightening. All of these things we can learn from older people, and I would make an assignment for my students to give if my class were in session, which isn't the case right this minute. To talk to an older person and get that sense of how to be resilient in the face of so much change. And again, fantastic discussion. Thanks so much.
No, Joanna, you want to respond to that?
Well, it's a great idea, right? That intergenerational, that saying, that can be a real steadying presence and force, right? To be like, what was your experience with this? I found myself sharing stuff like that with my students when the Ukraine war started. They were they were very scared because again, it came live on their phones. Like they were like
Right.
scrolling like good times, whoa,
Whoa.
and seeing really graphic, violent images, and it was messing with them. And they really were thinking that the world was going to end within like a few days. And I remember then sharing with them of my experience of being in high school and when the Gulf War happened and how I just, whatever, instructive, like hearing someone who's built that resilience, been through something. So I just think, right, Joanne's a teacher. She's got it going on of like, here's what we can do. Ask what's happened before relationally, find out.
Busted.
Well, there it is. As true as the bell rings every day at Busted Pencils, we have our segment, Democracy in Action, and it couldn't ring more true to the perfect moment for that tonight. Remember, every example of democracy in action is something linked to core democratic values. Today's discussion, right? I can't help but see the connection between what Joanna's recentering us on, what Joanne called in about, what we're all kind of grappling with here is the important work that teachers do, that educators do to value life and the pursuit of happiness. So two core democratic values in today's democracy in action and the discussion. Life. Every citizen has the right to the protection of his or her life, not the right to just learn, but the right to their life, their health, their well-being in the spaces that we convene together. And the pursuit of happiness. Each citizen can find happiness in his or her own way, so long as he or she does not step on the rights of others. Right. And so it's not anything goes, but valuing this whole person, whether it's just the educator or whether it's the children in the educator's classroom, that life is important. And it's more than just the academics. It's all the ways that a person's presence is recognized and valued as part of the community. Right. And their right to the pursuit of happiness. Right. Happiness doesn't come without health. We're talking a lot tonight about the importance of teachers' health and the healths of children in our classrooms. Appreciate caller Joanne for bringing that up today. I love that kind of continuity around asking for intergenerational conversations because these moments sometimes do feel like, how did we get here? And why is this happening? Guess what? Folks have experienced similar things. History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And so if anybody's caught that rhythm, tell us the story. So thank you, Joanne, for calling. Teacher Joanna, thank you for reminding us all about the states of mind, about the importance of all of this, and about taking a deep breath and not necessarily assuming that children aren't ready for these conversations or they're not getting this information, but reminding us about the importance of calm when we come together to learn, because we are going to learn and things are going to happen.
Well, the job of teaching is teaching, and
Yep.
teaching happens when students' brain or learning happens when there can only happen. We're in the state of calm. And so that's always our challenge is how do we create a community of care where there's a prevailing state of calm so that students can learn. Again, I said it in the last segment, I'll say it again. I want the system to like be there with me in it in terms of having a lot of our practices and philosophies align with how do we promote the brain state of calm in children through how things are organized, just like literally like the design of the day, the number of people in the room, the access to, we've talked about before, healthy food, water, physical movement, all of that. So that's our job. We can only teach in a state when students are, when the brain is in a state of calm. So that's what I'm always reaching for.
Question on that though, Teacher Joanna. I know sometimes when I'm teaching, you're making me think about this. Some of the content and topics I bring up actually introduce disturbances.
Mhm.
And that's intentionally as a teacher bringing in and knowing that sometimes a controversial topic that I'm going to bring to the class, it's going to actually not create calm. It's going to disrupt calm.
Well,
I want your feedback from
the
you.
state of calm doesn't necessarily mean that you're never going to that there's never going to be a bad feeling or something that comes up, but it means that you have established that you're in a safe place. You know what I mean? That you're not under threat. And I'm talking like really biologically here. Again, I'm
Okay.
not just talking about like I feel threatened because of what you said, but literally kind of like the more environmental and biological factors. But no, calm and good doesn't mean the complete absence of pain or sadness or worry. It means being able to move through those things or recognize that you can have that feeling, think that way, but that in general you are safe and you're supported and that your brain is at ease, it's not under threat.
Yeah, because when that's
And
what when I'm teaching social studies, Johnny, and I'll just jump in here too, is just like one of the key objectives is creating a sense of empathy with our students, and sometimes that sense of empathy can really only be accomplished if a student starts to feel a little bit of the emotions people may have been feeling at that time. If we're talking about a period in history, to create that empathy kind of takes them down. And so when we're explaining and talking about slavery and the horrors of the slave trade, they read about that, they see how people were put into these really horrible conditions. And there's a part of that that says, because to get to that empathy, they have to know how horrible it was. Johnny?
Tim,
Or you're confused. You're
gotta
challenging
disagree.
me.
Not challenging you so much as just like parsing out some of the details of this. What Joanna's explaining and what you're asking here, I think, is a common question that educators grapple with. And I think we've been given a bad example of it in a lot of contexts. And one of those contexts related to the right now is political discourse, right? Is the language that both parties, the left, the right, all the folks are using is pretty extreme. And it's a constant state of dysregulation. Now, this calm and regulated state, Joanna's saying, it requires that we are present and tending to it, right? And as like she said, kind of like a garden, like in a biological, ecological sense, the ecology of our classrooms is really thought about what's the balance, is how are needs being met and how are we inviting? And I want to draw on the example of social justice educator Jesse Agopian, recent guest on the show, talked about it's important to teach sometimes controversial things, but in a way that comes from strong information and at ease, in a sense of routine and invitation to think critically, think differently, share how we feel, talk about where information's coming from, and involve multiple perspectives. I think critical educators, Tim, struggle with this, and a lot of them have gotten this wrong for a really long time, especially social justice educators and social studies educators. They say, because people suffered, you got to suffer to understand the suffering. And it's been largely neglectful of the trauma and the experience that children bring to them in the classroom, that even educators ourselves may have close to us, that's related to our ancestors, our identity, our lived experiences, our community experiences. And they think because it's human rights, because it's facts, because it's about teaching the truth, they can do it in a way that will help move the needle, like will help gain understanding. But it's largely missed the boat on, no pun intended there, but largely missed the whole point that if we don't do this, recognizing that in order for us to understand differently, we have to have some common ground that isn't about agreeing, but it is about knowing that we're safe with one another, knowing that it's okay to think differently. It's okay to learn. It's okay to unlearn some of the things we thought might be true, or to have emotions related to what's going on and work through them in connection with facts that are brought to us. So too often teachers are teaching controversial topics in a way that I feel, and I think Joanna's speaking to, are from a point of dysregulation, and they continue to throw sort of gasoline on the already burning fire.
No, I mean, as you're talking to me now here, I'm sitting there. It's making me rethink some situations and lessons I've done in the past. And, I really appreciate the way you linked that back to Jesse Hagopian, our guest from Rethinking Schools, and that partnership, and Teacher Joanna, because yes, how do we approach these topics? And I think anybody listening today right now, boy, what a great learning opportunity today. Educators Amplified in the house. Teacher Joanna, Dr. Johnny Lupinacci, Tim Slecker, we're here. Producer Jess, throwing out some challenging school topics. How do we approach them? Well, man, we're going to have it in a whole way coming up in the fall. Busted Pencils, Fully Leaded. A little bit more when we get back.
I'm breaking the silence. I'm falling down with the
Here we are coming back. Busted Pencils, Fully Leaded Education Talk. Educated educators talking education. Yes, Tim, I know you hear my voice. 855-752-4842. If you're like, Tim, no, I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to Tim Mickelrath, the lead singer for Rise Against there in the back. He was saying he could hear my voice. I know he likes to jump in sometimes. I'm just saying thank you, Tim.
Tim, I
Appreciate
thought
it.
you were losing it.
See, I knew it. I just, I got.
It's not so much the
some
scamming; it's the talking to yourself.
Yeah. Oh, don't bring up the scamming again. That was
My gosh, that's
You
Tim's
got
comment from this
schooled.
week.
I got schooled, and we're not going to go back there again. Busted Pencils, yeah. Hey, teachers, educators amplified in the house. Teacher Joanna with us tonight. Boy, talking about what's coming up, classrooms, the fall, challenging content, controversial content, disturbing content. All of those adjectives are very accurate for what the current moment is. It's disturbing, it's challenging, it's controversial, it's emotional, it's heightened. Teacher Joanna, give us some regulation here.
Well, I had said that my mindset, how I'm preparing is again like, what am I anticipating that kids will need? And how will I use the words like protect their childhood, but really by that, I mean, how can I not have my space contribute to the stress that they're already feeling? To, and so how do I make sure that school is a safe, healthy, regulating space for them? And I mean, I've been through it before. I've been through elections before. We've had wars happen. We've had violence, and mass violence, news of all that. And actually, returning from COVID was a huge, like, that was a big learning curve, or where it was like everybody's needs were really intensified. And so I think we've been on that trajectory, but I do want students to be able to be students. I
Mhm.
want them to be able to be in their best brain state, so that they are having healthy relationships, and that relationships aren't strained, so that they are able to think critically, so that they are able to create imaginatively. Like, that is what will be on my mind. So it is interesting, because you guys might ask, or whatever barbecues I end up at the rest of the summer, people will be like, what are you going to do with the kids and all this? And what I'm going to do is what I've always done. I'm going to have my profound respect for children, and I'm going to support their needs.
Love that.
Nice.
Yep, Tim, I think this is really good reminder, and I love that because you know what I was thinking when we put that question out there. What do we do to prepare? I like that Teacher Joanna was saying that. One of the things I hear is staying optimistic. So I want to flip the discourse that we're surrounded by right now. That's like it's all going to ruin. This is what's going to happen. It's going to be bad. And really flip into modeling, standing out. Remember our lessons, 20
There you
lessons
go,
in the
brother.
21st century, standing out. So how I'm standing out as someone who works with teachers who are preparing to be in the classroom, who is in the classroom, who's around children, both as students, but also my own children and their friends, and they're inspiring. And I like that Teacher Joanna talks about their childhood, not so much as in a paternalizing way, but she's talking about it, and they're the future. So also standing out by being protective of their right to a future, to an optimistic future that they're going to be active and a part in. And what I'm going to do is model regulation and getting this information not only to them, but processing it myself. And I'm going to tell them that I truly believe they deserve better from their country, and they'll be that, but that they all deserve better. Because right now I'm furious and I'm angry. And so as an educator, I'm going to be working through that, my therapist and all my practices of regulation myself, because I'm just angry for children right now. They deserve better, especially in the wake of the events of this last weekend, an assassination attempt that rings so true to how many of their lives have been endangered through school shootings. And yet repeatedly, the discourses of this victimness that the Republican Party is experiencing. And I'm thinking about every child, regardless of their family's political affiliations. And every teacher goes to school kind of in a sense of fear and already a state of dysregulation because of guns in this country. And so I think they deserve more respect. They deserve more recognition, and that they're part of this conversation of how do we have safe communities, not just so that we can have elections, so that we can be in community together. And that's really important to me. Hey, speaking of being in community together, tune in, right? It's only one more day, but there's still lots to talk about. The Republican National Convention is in Milwaukee now through tomorrow. Stay up to date on all civic media's coverage on the RNC at civicmedia.us/RNC. For a daily recap with Civic News Director Terry Bell and host Todd Alba, tune in from 7 to 8 p.m. each evening. Hey, folks, tomorrow, Todd's joining us on Busted Pencils. So not only tune into those weekly recaps, but we hope you join us tomorrow, because Todd's joining us for a recap. Great night tonight. Tim, if you're in Madison, head out to the NBC, right?
There you go.
Brewing Company sponsors Busted Pencils. We appreciate that sponsorship, and we enjoy your beer. So get out there and see where you can grab your progressive beer. Tim, I think we teased it, but I think you should announce it.
I was going to say, man, you say
tomorrow, big guest, not just Todd joining us to recap, but we've got a special guest. Tim, tell us about our guest tomorrow.
Really special guest. Looking forward to this. Just again, and if anybody's been watching what's going on at the convention, particularly the Teamsters, teachers, the Teamsters, what happened there? They presented, they talked. Okay. We got some labor. The president of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten, is going to be on Busted Pencils tomorrow night. We're going to be putting these questions to her, Johnny. It's like, where do these parties stand when it comes to the work of teachers, the labor of teachers, and making sure how we're going to talk about how we elevate that. And we kind of put this out there too, Johnny. It's like, for a long time, both parties have not been friends to the teacher labor movement for sure. So we're going to be looking forward to this guest tomorrow night. So Randy Weingarten on the show. And yeah, join us too at the beginning of the show. Todd Albaugh talking about recapping everything there. And Teacher Joanna, Educators Amplified. Thank you so much for your busting pencils tonight. And we'll be back tomorrow night.